Let's see, it's Friday and it's around lunchtime and I'm hungry and it's freaking freezing here. I have a dog putting her head on my leg. Maggie, do you want to say hi to everybody? Come here. Here's Maggie's head. Harley's trying to get in here too. There's Maggie. Maggie, say hi. Maggie, can you look at the camera? I doubt it. Okay, get down. Nuh-uh-uh. Harley, you want to come up? Come on, Harley. Come on. Here's Harley. Woo! Harley's hyper. Hi, everybody. Let's see. Oh my goodness. I am not liking the cold weather. All right. Tell me what the outside temperature is where you are, okay? That is the question of the day. What is the temperature where you are? We're at 34, I think. Hey, go lay down. Let's see. Whew. Kathleen says they're predicting snow this weekend. Kathleen's up in New Jersey. And she also has a dog. So she says the dog will like it, but probably not her. Peter's in the house. Hey, Peter. Peter's in Canada. And Karen is saying it's colder here in Pennsylvania. I used to live in Maryland. No, it's not warmer here. I don't think so. Maybe. Hey, Joe. Kathleen is saying doggy foot warmer. Wade is saying 26 degrees in Minneapolis. Ugh. Karen says the cats are looking the other way for my dogs. Okay, so Karen says it's 32 there. Lisa says it's raining, really? 43 and raining. Raining is sucky too, I guess. All right, Joe says 39. Joe is in Rhode Island. Renee, cloudy and dreary. She's in DC. And Kathleen in New Jersey is saying 37 degrees right now. So you got a couple of degrees on me. I don't like it. I looked at the weather and it was like going to be cold all weekend and I was like, I'm not going anywhere. I stocked my fridge and I'm just huddling down. Ugh, I don't like it. So Lisa is asking on Facebook, is asking if I have ever presented at NALA. I haven't been at NALA. I've spoken at a number of paralegal association type things, but I don't think I definitely haven't done the convention, but I may have done some local NALA chapter things. So, Lisa, just get in touch and we can talk. Okay, so Marilyn, let's all be jealous of Marilyn. She's got 53 in Phoenix. I've often wondered what it would be like to live in Phoenix. It's such nice weather most of the year. I really need to get out of Maryland. My hubby is stuck here. He likes being here. I would just as soon get up and move. And at any time, as you get older, you want, oh my God, it's such a cliche. As you get older, you want warmer weather. No, I've wanted warmer weather even when I was younger. Okay. All right, so today we're going to be talking about tech tips, and I went and looked at the analytics for the videos that I've created over the years, and I picked the top 5, and you might be surprised what some of them are. I was surprised, Some of them I already knew, and some of them I was surprised, so you might be surprised. And for those of my friends that are on here that are not in litigation support, not even the legal industry, some of the tips are going to be for you too. They go across industries, so that's pretty cool. Karen says that she used to live in El Paso. Yep. I know Texas, my Texas friends were commenting today about snow for the first time, like they hardly ever get it. All right, the timer's down, the pre-show's over. Let's get started with the show. Welcome to, I keep rubbing my hands because I'm cold. You know, when your hands are cold and it's hard to like type and use your mouse and everything. I hate that. My name is Amy Bowser-Rollins, and I would very much like to welcome you to the Legal Tech Mastery Show. You know, we're at episode 9 out of 10 for season 1. We have one more episode next week, and then we're all going to take a break for the holidays. And then I will come back in January, early January, and there'll be a new set behind me, and I'm hoping to line up a bunch of interviews because those are pretty popular. Okay, so today we're talking about I pulled out 5 tech tips, and let's go ahead and get started. All right, so the first one I'm going to share with you today is how to convert a VOB file to an MP4 file. Raise your hand if you don't know what a VOB file is. So I learned about it when I met my husband, and he was downloading movies. But we won't talk about that anymore. But also later on I learned about it just in the legal field. Have you ever gotten a DVD from your client that comes in on a case and the lawyers need to review it just to see if they either need to review it for responsiveness or they just need to take a look at it? A lot of those videos that are done by corporations are done in a VOB format. They're, that's the traditional DVD format. And inevitably, they want to review them, and they want to use software that they naturally have on their, computer. And a lot of players don't view VOB files. So I had to figure out a solution a long time ago, and then I did a Fast Tip Friday on it. And so this also applies to, Joe is raising his hand. And now I've explained it, Joe. If you were to put a movie DVD, do you guys have those still? Into a player and look at the files behind the scenes, you would most likely see VOB files. Okay, so if you need to convert them to a more user-friendly format, that's what this is about. But it also converts other formats. So I use it for AVI, MOV, MKV, if anything I need to get to a different format. And most of the time I'm going to MP4 because it's so versatile. And all right, so the software I use is Handbrake. It's free, and it's available on Mac and Windows. If you haven't ever, for my techie friends that are in the audience today, if you haven't ever looked at Handbrake, oh my God, you're missing out. So you will have that installed from now on, and you will be using it. The other thing I use it for personally is sometimes when I have videos where the frames are off or the audio is a little off, sometimes I can convert it in Handbrake, and it will improve that quality. Okay, so this is basically what the software looks like. In this example, I had a VOB version of the DreamWorks intro for movies, and I show in the Fast Tip Friday video. So if you want to search for this, you can go to my website or to my YouTube channel and just search for convert VOB to MB4. Anyways, you put in the file itself as the source, and then you put where you want it to, with the conversion to go, the destination. It'll default to making an MP4 file. And then you just click start, and it will convert the file. And depending on how long the file is, how large it is, that's how long it takes to convert. And then you end up with an MP4, and that's as simple as it is, and it works really good. Hey Joe, thanks for letting me know. So that is pretty simple, and if you ever need to convert videos, go for it with Handbrake. Okay, Now this next one it came about because of litigation support. We deal with text delimited files. We call them load files. And a lot of times we get individual productions or individual sets of data. We call them data sets on, we call them volumes. You know how CDs used to be on volumes? We would distribute data across multiple CDs, and we would call them volumes, and you would name the CDs for the volume name. So when we get data behind the scenes now, we don't get them on CDs anymore, but a lot of systems will spit them out in volume-sized data. And hey, Ramesh. Ramesh is joining from DC. There's Ramesh. Okay. Anyways, text files, the way we use it is when we get a bunch of different text files, and, you know, I'm talking like 5 to 10 as much as 40 to 50. We get text files and we want to load them into a database, and we don't want to sit there and load each file, each text file one at a time. We always want to combine them and then click a button and have it load all the data. So this applies, though, outside of load files. If you ever have text files, even if you have Word documents that you save to text, you know, an RTF file or something like that, as long as it's text, you can pull it into a text editor. And the text editor we're using for this is TextPad. TextPad, a lot of people in my industry use text editors, and we talked about this in a previous show. They use TextPad, Ultra Editor, Notepad++, and sometimes we have to have both installed or all three installed because they each do different things. And in this is a case where I always have TextPad and Ultra Edit installed on every job I've ever had in litigation support. So this is a case where this feature is only in TextPad, and it works really seamlessly, okay? So basically, you start with the first file. So if you see on the left, I have, you know, for these examples, I never have a lot of files. So I have 5 files, and I want to combine them all. So you go into the first file in TextPad, you go to the end of that file, which is where the red arrow is pointing you to, and then you go up to the Edit menu, Insert Files. And then you choose all the rest of the files, and then you click Open. And then, boom, it's all in there, and it brings you down to the end of the file. So that's as easy as it is to combine text files. And like I said, we use it for load files. Each row in a load file is equal to a document in the database. So this works really well for our needs. Okay, so the next one for today is creating folders automagically. So in litigation support, we have, and actually, I'm not even going to, okay, so beyond litigation support, paralegals and litigation support, we need to create folders for all the time. We create folders by custodians, which is the people we're collecting data from. We create folders for each deposition witness. We create folders for different sets of data that we're getting from the client. And then what's happened is this video is on my website, fully searchable by Google, and on YouTube. I've repurposed it to YouTube. So this video has been viewed like 8,000 times between 2 systems that I have the video on. And because it applies to anyone who has a list of files, a list of folders that need to be created. Okay, now 9 times out of 10, if you have a list of folders you need to create on a file share, you know, on a server somewhere, or you have that list somewhere else. You have it in Word, you have it in Excel. So this allows you to take that list and automagically create the folders, and it's instantaneous. It's amazing. So the story behind this is that my husband, I pulled him into my field. He was in IT, and after a couple of years of dating, I suggested that he might want to switch to litigation support. And he did, and he still works in litigation support. Well, when he needs to do something, he goes to the Oracle, as he calls it, which is Google. And he found this, and he came home and shared it with me. And it was the first Fast Tip Friday that I did, and it's, I mean, we're all using it since, and you guys are going to be really excited if you haven't seen this yet. Okay, so switch back to here. This is an example of a spreadsheet that I already had. I made it up for this video, but we have them all the time in litigation matters. So we have a list of custodians, and we need a folder for each custodian because we're going to put stuff that we collected from that custodian into the folder. So just basically, if you ever need a list of folders created really quick, and you have the list in Word or Excel, get it into Excel. The next step here is to select all of the cells that have the names in them, whatever the folder names are. In this case, it's people's names, but you can imagine where it might be anything. And then hit Alt F11. That takes you into the VBA area of Excel. Now, if you're a paralegal or you're non-techie, do not freak out at this point, okay? I walk you step by step through this. It's very easy. Okay, so this is what it looks like when the VBA window opens, Visual Basic for Applications, okay? And then you're going to go to Insert Module because you're creating sort of like a macro. Then you're going to open the text file that I provide with the video. This is an example of where I provided a zip file below the video. And so you open that up, you open up the text file, you copy the macro, the VBA. I like to use macro because people still understand what macros are. Anyways, you copy the text and you paste it into your module. That's as simple as it is. So don't even worry about understanding what it is because it's gobbledygook. Just go ahead and copy and paste it. And then you click this little run icon, looks like a green arrow, and it runs that macro in Excel, and you get your folders. And did you see how fast that was? It really was that fast. So it doesn't matter how many folders you have, it runs really fast and it's really easy. And what you can do, I didn't show it in this video because it was the very first Fast Tip Friday I did. You can then save this Excel spreadsheet as an XLM file, which is a macro-enabled Excel workbook. So just when you go to save it, do a save as, and choose the macro-enabled workbook, and then you could just come in and rerun it, and, you know, change the, add more lists and highlight them, and then run the macro. You can just reuse it over and over again. That's the point there. Okay, let's see if we have any questions. No, I must be explaining it well. Let me check to make sure Facebook is feeding me things. Okay. All right. All right. Wade, I'm not sure which thing I talked about that you're talking about this. Can you clarify which thing? And keep in mind, you guys, there's many ways to do things. These are just tips that I shared. We all know there's many ways to do things. Okay, so let's see. Luis says, great tip, I will use it today. Again, I don't know which tip that was because I'm just stopping to look at comments. But let's see. Kathleen says, of course, I explain it well. All right. So Wade is saying, rename the VOB to MPG and they will play. Now that is a workaround, but I prefer it to be an MP4 format. So, but I mean, yes, that's fine. All right, Luis is clarifying that he was talking about creating the folders. Okay, cool. All right, Wade is putting way too much stuff in the comments that we'll have to come back to. So he's on YouTube. I'm putting it up on the screen so it'll be here. And he's also saying rename it to an MP4 and it'll play too. Tried that in the past and it didn't work, so we'll see. I'll try it again. Okay, let's see. Let's move on. All right, Excel hyperlinks. This one is if you have a list of files in a folder, and you want to pull that list into Excel, we can all do that. We can all get a directory. Okay, we all can't do that. Let me clarify. There is a way, and I do have a video on that, of getting a directory listing of files using, I have one video that does it in DOS and one video that uses a program to do it, to get the file listing, and then bring it into Excel. But this one actually reads the files in the folder and pulls in the file names and creates the hyperlinks. So then you can turn around and give it to somebody and they will have links to the files, okay? All right, so this one starts with, in this example, I created a bunch of dummy files that are in different formats, so different file extensions, just to show that it works with any type of file, and they're all in one folder. And then I'm in Excel, and I'm in an Excel macro that has a file extension of XLSM, and there's a first column that says file list with hyperlinks, and that's where we're going to put what we bring in, okay? So then we're going to go to macros, view macros, view tab, macros, view macros. And the macro is already in this workbook. And again, this is all in a zip file below my video that you can download. So you click on the macro name and you click run. And it magically puts all the file names into the first column and hyperlinks them, which is very, very helpful. So then I go on in the video to show there's only one edit you need to make to the macro. So you do need to go back into the VBA code. Okay, so, but it's really easy. Okay, you just need to give it the path where your documents are, which makes sense. How would it know otherwise, right? So you just copy that path and then you go back into view macros. This time you click on edit. And then it brings up the gobbledygook VBA that we don't care about. We just know that it does wonderful things. We don't need to understand it. But right there, you're going to highlight that path and replace it with your path. So even if your files are on a server somewhere, you know, the F drive, the J drive, the K drive, whatever, just copy the path and put it into there, and then run the macro, okay? Alrighty. Actually, let me go back. This is where I showed that you save. Once you change the value, you save it up above. So you click save when you're in the VBA window. So then that path is saved in your macro. And again, you can reuse this as many times as you need to. All right. Susan says the magic of macros. Happy dance. Yep, we all do. All right, Wade is saying copy the text, the star.txt, which is all the files, into a new file called text, and this will concatenate all the text files. Yes, it does, but if you don't understand DOS and you're already in TextPad, that's why I created the video. If we know how to do these things in DOS, Wade's coming from an IT perspective, so he's in a different, he started in a different world than people that land into litigation support, like Luis, who's on here. Luis didn't have an IT background, but he has TextPad, and he's trying to learn how to manipulate text files. So he's in TextPad, and that's why I made the video, because we're already in these text editors. Okay. I think I got all the comments so far. Thanks for clarifying, Wade, because when I stop later on to do the comments, I need some context, you know, to know what we were talking about at the time. And I've learned this too as I'm watching other people's live videos now. Now when I make a comment, I put more words in it so they understand the context, because otherwise, you know, you're checking the comments later and you're not sure. Okay, so this one is the last one, and I never would have. So this one came about because a power user in my audience sent it to me and thought it might be helpful to other people, which I love. That's happened a bunch of times. But when I recorded it, I thought it was cool myself. But when I recorded it, I knew that there would be some use cases, but I wasn't sure what all the use cases would be. But just the fact that you have a need and, she found a solution and then she shared it with me is pretty cool. All right, so I just have 2 slides here to show you some feedback I got after I created it to confirm that there were use cases. So I'm going to take a drink of water while you guys read this. So this is definitely a paralegal talking. And, a lot of times when we get documents from the client, we want to save all the Post-it notes that are already on the documents. We want to memorialize them. So when we send the documents to the scanner to get them to the vendor to get them scanned, we typically scan them as they were. And a lot of times the instructions that the paralegals give is scan it once with any Post-its and whatever, and then scan it once without, so they have a clean version right behind it. So in this case, she's saying that she needs the tabs and Post-its to be visible as she's organizing the documents after she got them in PDF form. And then she needs to get rid of that extra page. So that she used this, and it was pretty cool. And this is an example that I thought was the use case when I originally created the video. And again, this has been viewed, I think this one's around 2,000 to 3,000, which is crazy for a macro that deletes, a way to delete the first page of a bunch of PDFs and folders. But this is downloading case law, and anytime you download something from a site like Lexis, it's going to give you a cover sheet. And so this allows you to run this action sequence in Adobe and delete all the first pages really fast. So that's pretty cool. All right. Sydney is saying, where are the videos you're talking about that have the zip files? So I said earlier that everything I'm showing today is on my website, litigationsportguru.com. And in the top right, you can search, and it has a really nice search feature there where you just start typing some of the names of these, and they'll come right up. And in the blog post, there's the video itself, and then a link right below on how to download the zip file. If you search on YouTube, all the same information has been copied over to YouTube. So if you go into my YouTube channel, do a search there, there's a whole playlist with all the Fast Tip Friday videos in it. But you can run a search on my YouTube channel, and the download links are also provided there. Okay? All right. Okay. So in this example, I had 5 files, and they each had a cover page. So they each were 4 pages long, and I needed them to be 3 pages for the example that we're giving, okay? Now, this has a bunch of steps, but I'm going to run through them pretty quickly. And again, the video is there to rewind and as much as you need. But if you've ever, so this is Adobe XI. But even the latest version of Adobe has this ability to create an action sequence, which is like a macro, okay? I like to make things generic so people understand them. But it's the same thing. You're basically recording a bunch of steps and then pushing go, okay? So in Adobe, to create an action, you go to the Tools area, and then you go to the Action Wizard section, and you say Create New Action. You're welcome, Sydney. Okay, so the next step is that you're going to add the files that you have. So you're going to ask it to run this action sequence against these files, so you give it the list of files. So you click on Add Files, and then you select all your files, and you click Open, and then it adds those inside the action sequence. The next step is to go to the More Tools section and click on this very scary thing that says Execute JavaScript. Okay, so you're going to click on this, and you're going to click on this green arrow in the middle and move it over to the right. Okay, so now you're basically on the right hand side, you're building your action sequence. So first you're telling it what files to go against, to run it against. Then the next step is we're going to run some JavaScript. Oh my God, that's so scary. So then we're going to click on specify settings, and again, I give you everything you need to do this, okay? So I've zoomed in on this. This is what comes up in the JavaScript editor, which is, I know it's another world, but you will love this if you need it. All right, so then you highlight the default title here. See the /* is basically commenting this out. Basically, you can name your action here or name the script with a comment. So you're going to comment this out. You're going to highlight this, sorry. And then you're going to give it a name that makes sense, okay? Delete first page. And then you put in this gobbledygook. And then you might say to yourself, why is Amy telling me to put delete pages 0? Because I asked myself that question when I went to create this, and I Googled it, and it turns out that in Adobe speak, 0 is the first page. Oh no. So then once you have the gobbledygook in there, then you click OK. Now you're back here. Now you do have the option to prompt back to yourself, for it to stop between files. No, we don't want that to happen. So deselect the prompt user so it just runs across all the files, deleting all the pages without stopping, and that would be a pain in the butt if it stopped, okay? So deselect that, don't forget that step. All right, now we're going to go to the save and export section, and we're going to click on save because you need to tell it what to do with the file after it deletes the page, right? So you're going to click on save, then you're going to click on the green arrow and move it over to the right. Okay, so now you have a save option. Now, when you go into specify settings here, it gives you a bunch of options, and if you use Adobe for any type of conversion process, you've seen this screen before. Now, if you want, so what I teach in litigation support and when I'm teaching paralegals, we always need to keep a pristine copy of everything we do. Okay, so if you got this from a source, you need it to be in the format that you got it. You need to keep that pristine, Pristine. So you have two options. One is make a copy of the files before you do anything with them. And a lot of people do that. The second thing is you forget to do that part and you just start going in and doing things to files. So this gives you a little bit of saving grace because you can choose the second option, add to original file names. And I do this all the time when I run OCR on files. I'll add a suffix. It's called a suffix. There's prefix, adding something to the beginning of a file name, and suffix, adding something to the end of a file name. So sometimes, and you'll see the red arrows are showing insert before or after the file name. So you could change it to add to original file name, and in the insert after, I like to do that so that they still sort the same way. I might put _edit or _OCR, _converted, or whatever makes sense for what I'm doing. And that way I will end up with the original file unchanged and a new file. But in this case, we've gotten smart and we've copied the files, and we're using a copy to do this, so we don't need to add anything if we don't want to. So then you can just click past that. Basically, we didn't need to change any settings under save, but I wanted to show you what your options are. All right, so then you're going to click save, and that's going to save the action. And you have to give the action a name. Shocker, we're naming it delete first page. So you save that. Now in Adobe on the right hand side under actions, you have your very first action that you've created all by your lonesome, and it's called delete first page. Okay, so now you just have Adobe Pro open and you're getting ready to choose that action. All right, so then you choose the action. It shows you the files that you already selected that are going to be processed, and you just click start, just like you would a macro. Okay, so then it runs, and it takes as long as it needs to, depending on how many files you have. And in the end, as it's running, you'll see it checking off the documents one by one, and then you'll also see it checking off the processes that it took against those documents, both the JavaScript and saving it. Okay, and then you'll notice, I don't know if you guys can see it on the screen, but this is the last file. September 2013 is the last file. It leaves that open, and I just want to show you that it now says 3 pages, and it doesn't have the cover sheet on it. Okay, so that's all, folks. That's all I have for you today. Let's see if we have any questions on deleting the first page, if you've ever had that need. Apparently a lot of people do, because it's very popular, which is hilarious because you never would know. All right, I do not see any comments. Like I said in the pre-show today, this is episode 9 of 10 for season 1. So next Friday, December 15th, will be the last episode of season 1. And then I'm going to take a break, and I'm thinking that I'll be back January. I think it's the 6th, the first Friday in January. That's what I'm aiming for anyways. Karen says, thanks, great tips for anyone. And Susan says, that remove first page of PDF and mass, yep, is pretty awesome. I've done it doc by doc before, didn't even consider them. And that's the thing with our industry. I train people to start thinking there's got to be a better way, right? Because of automation and there's so many options these days. So if I'm working in a law firm and I'm working around a legal team, I try to train them to think there might be a better way, and at least come ask me, because it breaks my heart to watch people doing things manually, or I could have helped them and they didn't ask. All right, Jude's saying thanks. Hi, Jude. Barbara is saying great tips for managing documents. And Jennifer is agreeing with getting a holiday break. So I personally suck at taking vacation. I'm a workaholic. I just suck at it. I always have, always. So I learned maybe 5-6 years ago to take off around Christmas. The legal profession doesn't always slow down at the holidays. You'd be amazed at some cases that are still hot and heavy around Christmas. But typically it does, and so it's a little bit safer time for me. And I ended up taking 1 week, the Christmas week or whatever, and then I started taking 2 weeks just to use my leave. So this year I'm doing the same thing. I only work part-time at Case Point, but I'm taking off the 2 weeks to get a break. And I have some cool things that I have on my to-do list, of course. All right. Wade is sharing another tool that most of us in litigation support already know about. It's a really popular, another utility tool. So if you're new to litigation support and you haven't used this yet. And then Ramesh is saying great tips, and Wade is saying great tips. Okay, so I'm glad that I was able to compile all of these together so that I can point people to the video, because it's really interesting to me to watch the analytics and to see. I mean, I get comments on YouTube from total strangers saying this saved my life, this saved my day, or something like that. So especially the create folders one. So hopefully you guys will remember this when you have the need and be able to utilize it. Okay, so I'm going to wish you a good weekend, and I will see you back here next Friday. Okay, so have a great weekend and try to stay warm. I know I'm going to. Take care.